Assalamu alaikum. My name is Haris Mirza. Welcome to the presentation for the Emerging Leadership Workshop. Assalamu alaikum. Moje ime je Haris Mirza. Dobrodošli na prezentaciju o omladinskom liderskom seminaru. Molimo vas pozdraviti našu kreativnu direktoricu. Please welcome the creative director of VOBG, Dalila Zelkanović.
Alrighty, so let me adjust this. Assalamu alaikum, good morning. Voices of the Bosnian Genocide, known as VOBG, is an organization that believes independent, high-quality research combined with outreach programs like this can address our goals of raising awareness and education about the Bosnian Genocide. VOBG's mission is to preserve the memory of the Bosnian Genocide through commemoration and to share that commemoration through education. VOBG serves to educate about the genocide and its effects, as well as to advocate for effective policies for both preventive and reconciliation purposes. Our group is made up of individuals that are passionate about genocide education and prevention and human rights, as well as social justice. We believe that by remembering the victims, engaging in dialogue, educating the public, speaking out for those in danger, and working together with other activists, we are contributing to creating a world free from genocide and human rights abuses. So as each of us plans our community engagements, a fundamental question arises. What skills have we gained in school, at work, in volunteering, and through our experiences? And how effective are these skills for community activism? Well, that's where this workshop comes in. We discovered early on in our collaborative effort that everyone could benefit from the research that's been done in the area of professional development and performance management. But gaining access to this corporate level training is difficult because it's usually only given to high-level executives in the corporate world. But thanks to the sponsors of our volunteers and soccer superstar Asmi Begovic, we are able to deliver this content to you today. Our goal through the workshop is to help young Bosnians learn the skills of leadership and practice the skills necessary to become world-class leaders. Whether you're leading a project at school, a team, at work, on the soccer field, an enterprise, a community service project, whatever it be, across any discipline, you will find the content of this workshop to be fulfilling and engaging. After the discussion, we'll hear from our panel about different ways they took on leadership skills to deliver for VOBG. The importance of discussing leadership now is because we clearly have a social opportunity and community platform before us. Our desire to network and socialize with other Bosnians is great, as that desire shows our intent to celebrate our shared identity. But as much effort as we put into celebrating our shared identity should be put into maintaining our collective identity. And to do that, to maintain our collective identity and our presence during our time, we need us here today to take on positions of leadership in our respective communities. As a community, we have to choose a certain level of success in this society. We have to choose to do more, because as a Bosnian diaspora in the first generation of Bosnian-American youth since the Bosnian Genocide, we have reached a certain age and a certain level of understanding and knowledge. We have aspirations to help our communities and Bosnia itself. And we need to learn to recognize and hone our leadership skills to seize those opportunities. This brings us to our presentation, which will help us all learn and recognize what our leadership skills are and practice ways to use them. Our workshop is led by Irfan Mirza, and some of you may know him, others may not, so I'll tell you a little about him. In 1992, Irfan was running a successful engineering enterprise with a partnership with AT&T in Beverly Hills, California. And then he found himself planted in the middle of Sarajevo during the war. Today, he's a principal enterprise architect at Microsoft. He coaches executives and senior leaders in his company to help them improve corporate performance and their leadership skills. So please help me welcome Irfan to the podium.
Well, thank you everybody. Assalamu alaikum. Let's start this. I'm going to give you a short video before I start saying anything to give you an idea of what we are focusing on as far as leadership workshop content is concerned. Okay, so let's just watch this for a second and then I'll come in and sort of add some more context. Okay, so we got a message there, right? What's the message? The message is about leadership and training. So everything that we do, if you want to do it to a certain level or degree of competence or a level of accomplishment, you need to have practice at it. You need to have the ability to do it over and over again until you get really good at it. And what we found about leadership is that people accidentally step into leadership roles, right? You're playing soccer with a bunch of buddies. Next thing you know, you've got a group of 22 people, and one guy says, oh, I'm the captain of Team A. Somebody says, I'm the captain of Team B. You have leaders. We have examples from our Prophet, ﷺ, who said, when two people are journeying together, one should be the leader. Right? So there are many examples of leadership that we have to look at. And one of the things that we find in that, while people are driven and they want to go and do something, what they don't necessarily have are the skills or the understanding of how to go do it. And so if you look across the spectrum of leaders, and I sort of randomly pulled some, can you guys help me identify who these people are? Everybody knows the very first one on the top right-hand corner, George Washington. What about beyond that? Any Canadians in the audience? Just yell it out. John A. Macdonald, he's the George Washington of Canada, I suppose. Beyond that?
Churchill.
Churchill, very good. And then?
Gandhi.
Moise Zemliak. And then?
Malcolm X.
X, yes.
Martin Luther King.
King. And this one? Believe it or not, it's a very young Ali Izetbegovic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Beyond that? Indira Gandhi. I'm looking at the girls in the back. Everybody knows Bill.
Clinton.
President Obama. Bottom right corner,
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. Together in a photograph. Two incredible competitors over the years. Changed the face of the world. Angelina Jolie, right? A leader in some ways in her own rights. Yes, she's an actress, she's an entertainer and all of that, but she's also a phenomenal advocate for women's rights. Right? She's spoken at the United Nations. She's gotten Great Britain to start supporting the resolution, international resolution on war crimes against women. Right? Something we saw in the Bosnian War. It was a terrible tragedy. Murija Subasic, she's the leader of the Mothers of Srebrenica, a single woman who stood in front of the Dutch Parliament and made all of them resign. The entire Parliament resigned over what happened with Srebrenica because Murija Subasic was able to bring them to shame. Right? Next one, everybody should know this. Malala, right? And then finally, not necessarily a leader that you could recognize, but certainly if you read his works, you'll see that he did lead the world into understanding something about Bosnia. Roy Gutman, he wrote the book called Witness to Genocide, and more importantly, he wrote an article in New York Times talking about the concentration camps in 1992 in Omarska and Keratin. And that brought about a significant change in the world. President Clinton was reading the newspaper and he saw on the Washington Post the reprint of the New York Times article. He called Anthony Lake, who was his national security advisor, and said, what's going on? Since when are there concentration camps in Europe? Right? It changed the face of the war because that was when the United States decided that we needed to engage in some way. So leaders have characteristics. Whatever it is that they're trying to do, whether it's an enterprise like Bill Gates, or whether it's in politics, as most of these people you see, whether it's in social activism like Malala and Angelina Jolie, whether it's founding a nation like Izetbegovic or Washington or McDonald, right? These are all the great, great leaders that you can look to as models and say, what is it that they have that's common to them? So let me start by telling you a little bit about me and why I can stand here and talk to you about leadership and what experience I have with it. I work for a company called Microsoft. You may have heard of it. We make some products that are very commonly known. everything from the Xbox down to Office and Windows and things that power the world in incredible ways. My role in that company is that a few years ago I developed some technology that allows email messaging mailboxes to be provisioned, to be set up from any device, not just your laptop, and not just by the server administrator. Before most of you were born, there was a time when email could only be set up by a server administrator. The fact that we created an engine that allowed anybody to set up a mailbox allowed us to do things like Office 365, provision Microsoft's Azure services. To make a long story short, over the last 4 years, the work that I've done at Microsoft has actually made it into our company's annual books. And that shows that the revenue we've generated from this little engine that I created and all of its offshoot products amounts to about $4.4 billion of revenue for the company. And more importantly, that revenue is growing at a rate of about 147% year over year. So when I present myself to an audience, how do I come across? I'm a principal enterprise architect. It means I create new revenue streams for Microsoft. I find ways in which our technology can help us make money. And more importantly, in the last 4 years, actually including this year, I've generated $6.3 billion of revenue for the company. And probably the most compelling thing about all of this is that it's sustainable revenue. It's not just revenue that you hit one time and then you say, I don't know what to do next. We have unprecedented year-over-year growth in the company. So when people look at me and I present myself to them, how do I come across? I come across sort of like Hot Wheels, and I'll tell you why. The Mattel Toy Company has $6.4 billion of revenue annually. That's about the same as the engine that I've created for Microsoft, right? So when I get in the elevator with the president or the CEO of Mattel Toy Company, I know what it is that it took to get to $6.3 billion. I know how much hard work I had to put into it. I know the resources that I needed to invest to get to that stage. And certainly I know what he needs to do to get there, too. Right? So we have something in common. A fellow by the name of Chris Westphal wrote a wonderful book. If you have a chance, I'd suggest you get it and read it. It's called The Elevator Pitch, the new elevator pitch. The idea of the elevator pitch in 1962 was invented by Eileen O'Rourke, who was a freelance journalist. She went to, she saw the editor, the senior editor of Vanity Fair magazine, getting into the elevator in his building in Hollywood, California. She ran in behind him in the elevator because she knew that his office was on the 3rd floor. And the 30 seconds that she had from the ground floor to the 3rd floor was the amount of time she would have to give him a pitch for an idea she had for a fashion article in Vanity Fair magazine. In that 30 seconds, she convinced him that the article was a good enough idea that he said to her, set up an appointment with me, come and see me the next day and we'll talk about it. She made a career out of it, and Vanity Fair became the magazine that actually talks about fashion trends and all of the sort of social trends in the world, right? So this is the idea of an elevator pitch. I'm going to walk you through a very quick sample of an elevator pitch from somebody that I'm sure you recognize. Okay, so that's really simple, right? What did he say? Somebody tell me? First one, he said he's young. Is that important for a boxer? Yeah, really important. So 1962, Muhammad Ali fought, who did he fight? No, he was Cassius Clay. He fought the world champion, can't remember his name now. Sorry? No, Fraser. Sorry, it was before that. Anyway, he won the championship, and his age was important because the fellow he was going against was 12 years older than him. He said he's handsome. Does that matter?
George Foreman.
No, it was before Foreman too. Sonny Liston. Thank you. So it was Sonny Liston, right? So after the Golden Gloves. So. Sonny Liston was 38 years old, and Cassius Clay, or Muhammad Ali at the time, was 26. So let's think a little bit about handsome. Right? What does it do to you when you tell a boxer is handsome? Right? Really nothing in the act of boxing, but certainly something that disarms you, because he tells you, you know what, I'm young, but I'm really good looking, so you kind of laugh it off. And then he says he's fast. Is that important for a boxer? Very important, right? Speed. What was Muhammad Ali's slogan? Does anybody remember?
Sting like a bee and move like a
Move like a butterfly and sting like a bee, right? This is what fast is all about. Agile and so on. And then he says he's pretty. Does that matter much? No. So what he's doing is he's telling you something about himself that compels you to want to learn about him. And then he disarms you because he's threatening you in some way. I'm young, I'm fast. And then finally he gives you this hook that you absolutely cannot decline to want to know more about, which is, I can't possibly be B. Right? That's not all that different than my hook to say, I generate unprecedented year-over-year growth for Microsoft. So what we're doing here is we're actually taking apart the characteristics of leadership. The Emerging Leadership Workshop is exactly about that. It's about what are the characteristics of leadership, how do you identify them, and how do you develop the skills in order to be able to deliver something along the lines of a leadership model. Right? In the Bosnian community, what we found is there's a new generation of Bosnian-Americans. Right? First generation diaspora that are growing up, second generation that were born here, and you all have aspirations and ideals. You're all at this conference because you have great intentions. How do you take all of that great intention and goodwill and put it to some constructive use on behalf of the Bosnian community? Right, so this is what we're proposing, is that one of the core foundational elements you need, regardless of what kind of work you're going to do, is that of leadership training. So we offer that leadership training through the courtesy of our sponsors and through the volunteers of the Voices of the Bosnian Genocide. So let's talk a little bit about what are the core characteristics, and then I'm going to turn to our panel and start talking to them about their experiences in leadership and in particular about the workshop. So leaders are identifiably unique. That's different than uniquely identifiable. A person who's uniquely identifiable would be somebody that walked into this room with blue hair. You would say, oh yeah, who is that person? Right? They're different than everybody else at this point in time. But a person who's identifiably unique is somebody that you found. You say, what is so unique about this person that has done this? We saw Haris Mirza, my son, earlier today open the program. Everybody looked at him and said, wow, he's 6 years old and he's delivering a speech in front of an audience. That's identifiably unique. Right? He has some characteristic about him that has made him interesting to us. Leaders are communicative. You can have the greatest idea in the world, but if you're not able to communicate it, nobody's going to follow you. You're a one-man operation at that point. Leaders are purposeful, right? They have a design, they have a vision, they have a goal. They try to get there. Gandhi had a goal for an independent India, free of British occupation. That was his purpose. He then brought in his best friend, Jawaharlal Nehru. Both were lawyers, and he said to Nehru, I need you to build a structure so that we can help India become independent. Right? So these are the kinds of characteristics. And obviously the final one is about courage. Every leader has to break the mold. You've got to step out of your comfort zone and say, hey, I'm going to go do something nobody else in my community has done. I'm going to start to be active in a particular area, whether it's political activism, whether it's social activism, whether it's raising awareness, whether it's doing something about, the Dayton Accords that were signed 20 years ago, and to this day we've seen sort of a stagnating situation come out of it. Right? And people say, these are impossible problems to solve. No, they're not. It was impossible to think that a business would be worth, $500 billion today, and yet we see Apple as a $500 billion business that's emerging. Right? Nobody ever thought that company that owned only 3% of the desktops in the world could actually amount to becoming a $500 billion business, yet they did. Right? The iPhone and the tablet and the iPad and all of that allowed them to do that. So, courageous. All right. This is about the workshop, and what we're offering is that we'll bring this workshop to your community, and you need to come and talk to us about it. But before you start thinking about that, I'm going to turn it over to the panel to talk about their experience as leaders and the activism that they've done through the Voice of the Bosnian Genocide and through other means. And we have with us today the advantage of Anisa Kajtazovic. I think most of you know her. If you don't, I'll give you a quick introduction. Anisa was the youngest elected public official to the Iowa State House ever in the history of America. Absolutely. And each one of these individuals that's sitting up there has something that's identifiably unique about them. It's something that they have done that allows us to say, wow, these are exceptional individuals. And what I'm proposing to you is each of you you is an exceptional individual. What you now need to do is you need to find it within yourself what that exceptionalism is, and you need to highlight that and focus on it and build on it, okay? So let's start off with Adam Mirza. I think you're the first presenter. Adam is my son, but he's also the Vice President of the Voices of the Bosnian Genocide. And Adam, I'll let you take away.
You got it? Yeah, it works. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. I'm Adam Mirza, his son, and also the Vice President of the Voices of the Bosnian Genocide. I was given this opportunity pretty much when the President, who unfortunately could not be here today, Mirza Veligic, came to our house and asked for help for a resolution. This opportunity I took with great brevity. I found myself developing skills, speaking in front of people, to help me in my professional life, and I consider this part of my professional life too. I am a software developer. I interned at Amazon, recently at Cicito this past summer, which is a small startup. And now I'm moving from the University of Washington to the University of British Columbia to continue my studies in computer science. And I think that the skills that I've developed with VOBG have really improved my position and the competitive appeal that I bring to the table. But today I want to talk to you guys about goals. So where I got today, I wouldn't be able to if I didn't set up my own goals. We all have goals. My cousin, he's a soccer player. His goal is to be on the Bosnian national team, as is most other people, to become even professionals. I have friends who were goals to become lawyers, to become engineers. My own goal would be to become a leading engineer in my industry. But like, you really have to ask yourself, how do you fulfill these goals? How can you push yourself to become an active participant and actually complete these goals? So as a youth, we are gaining skills, we're developing resources, we are networking with people, and I think these are great ways to achieve your goals. You want to be able to define who you are as a person and to be able to improve yourself as a professional. Each one of us is committed to working hard to achieve our goals. I'm sure that we really have to put our heads down, and you have to work to be able to get to where you want to be. But first, define where you want to be. So what is that for us? For me personally, I would say I want to make Bosnia great again. I want Bosnia to be a leader in most industries that they can provide. I want Bosnia to be the nation that I believe it to be. I don't want it to be politically corrupt. I don't want it to be distraught by ethnical ties and nationalism. I want Bosnia to be a great nation. I'm not saying it's not great now, but I do say that there are problems within Bosnia that I want to be. And this is how I'm doing it. I'm going through VOBG, trying to recruit people, trying to expand to share our message, to say, hey, we have this knowledge available to us. We go to the top schools in the world. UW is ranked 44th in the world. UBC is ranked, I think, 19th or something overall. We have these opportunities available to us, and we need to be able to utilize them. But we have to stop and ask, do we ever get the job done? Is Dayton the proper method of a constitution for Bosnia? Am I actually taking steps? Am I taking the initiative to fulfill my goal? Am I making Bosnia great? Well, I think little by little, incrementally, I am. I am right now here talking to you all to show that I'm trying to make a difference myself. And I want to reach out to you and say you can do the same in your own communities. Set up some goals, gather some people, and I'm sure you can fulfill them. You won't be able to do it with just one person. I can guarantee you that. It takes a whole team of us here to be able to fulfill what we can. We've had successful events over in Seattle, which is where most of us are from, where we gathered most of the community in commemoration for Srebrenica. We really need to expand that to not in terms of just commemoration, but also fulfilling goals in other aspects of life. Fulfill goals in school, get straight A's, Become a leader in your industry. Be a part of Bosnian youth, because that is who we are. And we need to be able to fulfill what our parents have brought us. My parents came here, and I've seen articles in newspapers. I was just a baby then, but I've seen articles in newspapers of them lobbying, talking to government officials. And this is what we should be doing today. We should be talking to government officials. We should be still spreading the word about Bosnia. We should be actively involved. And this is something that our youth needs to act on. So the last part of this whole presentation about goals is, why don't we train ourselves in the discipline of leadership? Being a leader in whichever industry you are is important. I want to become a leader in the engineering industry. And to do that, I go through many of these workshops. I help people go through these workshops. And through that, we learn how to speak in front of people. We learn how to engage with others, how to interact, how to work as a team. And I think one of the greatest quotes I heard, and I'm probably paraphrasing now, is to be a leader, you need to follow. And that's something that this Emerging Leadership Workshop has really taught me over the years. Actually, I think we started it last year. But I've learned that being a leader takes a breadth of knowledge, a whole spectrum of knowledge, if you will. I learned so much with all these people here, being a leader in VOBG, and I implore you guys, I really do, to become leaders in your own communities. Take the knowledge you get from high school, from middle school, from college, take that and do something with your communities. It doesn't matter what, preferably something about Bosnia, of course, that would be my preference. But do something with the community. The path to gain knowledge is one of the high roads that many of us do not take. But I suggest you guys take that one. The next speaker now will be Esma. Esma recently joined VOBG, and she is one of our prospecting youth.
Assalamu alaikum. You might be feeling a little uncomfortable, maybe shy, or you could be completely fine and open. However you might be feeling, I can certainly relate. I look back at the first time I went to a workshop that VOBG hosted, and I was just a shy 16-year-old girl that had no friends there, and I was just all eyes and ears to the information that was being presented to me. By taking in everything that I learned at that workshop, I knew I had to get involved with VOBG. Looking back at it now, not only did it allow me to get involved in my community, but it allowed me to make a difference. For example, at our Srebrenica commemoration event, I had the honor of introducing State Representative Joe McBride. A month before that, I'm going to be honest, I was probably just laying on the couch doing absolutely nothing. I was no longer dreaming of all the things that I could be doing, of all the things that I could be benefiting for my community, but I was in reality doing them. If you have a passion or drive for something that can make a difference in a person's life, a community, or even the whole world, I strongly advise you to take action. What else would you be doing? Instead of sitting on the couch, refreshing Facebook way too many times, scrolling through Instagram and Twitter, you could be educating and empowering others. Be the person that will make the change. Don't sit around and think that you aren't capable. Don't leave it for someone else to do. Have people remember your name. You might be thinking, hey, slow down there, it's not that easy. You might be shy like I was, but with everything new, you're going to feel uncomfortable. Don't be afraid to ask questions. This is something that I cannot emphasize enough. Do not be afraid to ask questions. Do not be afraid to take risks. I made the mistake of being shy and not stepping out of my comfort zone. After you pass that first little phase of feeling intimidated and shy, you will be proud that you did. From there, you will only see yourself moving forward and onto bigger and greater things. What I want you to leave with today is the mindset of feeling capable of doing anything you set your mind to. Don't let anything block you from achieving your goals. As long as you stay focused and determined, you won't be disappointed. our next speaker is Anessa.
Well, thank you. Well, first of all, I would like to thank Irfan and Sabina and everyone else with this group. And when they say one person can make a difference, it's really true. And my story is, my connection with this group actually started last year when I was invited by, what's his name, Mirza Belagic. He just sent me a Facebook message inviting me to come to Seattle to be a keynote speaker for their Srebrenica event. And you know, I have a friend up in Seattle, and so I was planning to go anyways. It was just a matter of nailing a date down. So I thought, well, I guess why not? I always multitask in everything I do. So I did, and I was just so inspired by their event. And ever since then, I couldn't stop thinking, like, wow, you know, we should do something like that across this country, and especially in my state of Iowa. So this year, for the first time, both major cities where we have about 17 to 20 Bosnians combined, we had our first Srebrenica event. And the press coverage there, I mean, just the opportunity to educate our American neighbors, friends. I mean, it was, you know, front page news. I mean, it was just incredible. And I've really had to sit back and think, you know, that really happened just for one person, you know, Facebook message and accepting to go be a speaker and meeting all of these people that I didn't even know. So I really want to thank you for your leadership and for doing what you preach about. So thank you. But for me, what I tell people is it really wasn't easy. I always wanted to be involved and do stuff, but it's tough if you don't have friends in those areas or your parents don't know how to get you to maybe do some of those activities, whether it's in school or after school. It was difficult to walk into a room where I knew absolutely no one walking into it. I mean, it was from sports to after-school activities, everything. But out of all of those, I ended up gaining so many new friends. And I remember just the friends that I had at the time asking them to be part of it. And people sometimes just don't want to participate for whatever reason. I think all of us here, and most people in general, they want to make a difference. It's just a matter of taking that first step. People get so nervous to do it. And I remember being in Janila's, right? Esmeralda, gosh, excuse me, I can't. Esmeralda's shoes, and being so nervous to speak when I had to give my first political speech. So what I did, I just turned that around and said, you know, I'm nervous to speak. I'm nervous of public speaking, but what frightens me more than public speaking are my opponent's agenda. And then I just went into why I was running. So people sometimes can really relate to that. I think a lot of people experience. I think most people are afraid of public speaking than they are of death, is what some of the statistics I've seen. But for me, one quote that I've lived by and I hope you will consider is, you never know what you can do until you try. And that was on a poster in one of the classrooms in school. And it's really true, because I had no idea that a little unpaid internship that I had to do for my college could lead me to meet former President of the United States, Bill Clinton, to Joe Biden, Bill Richardson, to just such national big names, to state level, you know, from governor to state senators, to state representatives. I had no idea that would all happen from just saying yes to an unpaid internship. But you never know until you really step out of your comfort zone and just say to yourself, I can do it, I want to learn. And sometimes, you know, it will be a tough road, you know, sometimes a lonely road walking into those rooms of not knowing anyone or those conferences, but just remember, I guess if you can take my story, remember I did not know anyone in Iowa politics at all. I was just a college intern. But what I gained out of that was just priceless. It opened up doors for me to run for office myself. It wasn't easy. It was a lot of strong will and a lot of people that believed in me along the way. But it was a lot of hard work, and it was those early opportunities that I took. So I want all of you to just to be open-minded to new experiences. Some of you are probably in college here. You know, take some classes that maybe are outside of your major. You know, challenge yourself. Go and try to discover something that maybe you haven't been part of before. You just never know what you can really do until you try. So thank you.
you, Anessa. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Alvana. I grew up in Seattle, but I recently moved to Los Angeles. So I just want to tell you guys that when I joined Voices of Bosnian Genocide, we were able to research and present about a topic that we felt very strongly about. And that was a topic about how the war impacted women. Sorry guys, I have to put my glasses on because I'm blind. And for me, I was very glad that as a community, we were not only able to commemorate the victims of the genocide, but also recognize the strength of the survivors. And with that, we were also able to bring about a topic that is still very relevant to this day, given all the events that are happening in today's world. So when participating in an organization, or if you're coordinating an event, it's very important to communicate with each other, with the community, because you have ideas that I'm sure the community will love for you to share. And I've found that once you share those ideas and those goals, you'll be very surprised how many people actually share those very similar ideas and goals, right? And if you never speak about it, right, it'll be very hard to achieve that, right? So even if you have to physically be away from a community or from an organization, which is what happened to me in my case when I moved to LA, I still was able to communicate with VOBG via email, social media, and that way I was still able to network, and that's how I met Anessa, was through my contacts with VOBG. So even if you feel like you don't know enough people, even if you feel like there's a lack of resources, if you communicate with those that you already know, you'll be surprised with how many connections you can still make and how much you can achieve with just that small group. So that's what I just want to encourage you guys to do, is just communicate. Don't be afraid to make connections.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Elisa Mitra. I'm a member of the VOBG. And VOBG's training has helped me become the 6th grade class president in my school last year. This training that the workshop has gave me, I'm only 12 years old and I still can present this speech to everyone here, and I would like to thank everyone for that. But this year, on July 11th, I had the honor to represent the Bosnian-American community by presenting an award to United States Congressman Jim McDermott for his years of commitment, dedication, and service to the Bosnian-American community and to Bosnia-Herzegovina. I was selected to deliver the citation to the Congressman. Practicing what it takes to be a leader will help you with any achievement throughout your life as you get older. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Vahid Mehmek. As a technology enthusiast, I was presented an opportunity to create a website for VOBG. In our current digital world where ideas are shared and exchanged constantly, it was important for us to share our ideas and articles on our own platform. I wanted to utilize this platform with my computer and my security skill set to help the organization gain traction worldwide. We created a technology platform that has been refined to be used on a global scale. Our website content ranges from articles, videos, blogs, as well as live streaming events. Currently, in 2015, VOBG launched our best website platform that provides us full insight into all of our articles, blogs, as well as our social media. This year alone, we had over 5,500 brand new visitors on our website with over 8,700 pages that were viewed. And our social media, our articles have reached up to 33,000 viewers. Our website serves as a platform that empowers individuals to collaborate and take action together. And this allows anyone interested in the cause to help share their own ideas and connect to like-minded, socially conscientious people. Individually, we can only accomplish so much alone, but collectively, we can use one another's skills to do so much more. I would like to take this opportunity to invite you to join VOBG. Whether you're interested in political science, computer technology, marketing, activism, or have passion for Bosnia, we encourage you to become involved in your community. Here at VOBG, we're creating so many internship opportunities. For example, we're looking for a technology intern to help us with our website. I want to ask you guys if you see yourself being involved in our community and if you're interested in joining VOBG. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you so much, panel, for great insights into what each one of you is doing, and thank you for the candid conversation that we're having about what we feel and how we want to move forward as individuals or part of a community. Right, so tomorrow we have a session. Again, I think our session is at 4 p.m. I'm not sure if it's in this room, I think it is. So what I'd like to ask each of you to do is encourage people to come to it. It's going to be a roundtable conversation. We'll cover a little bit more content about the workshop. We'll actually walk you through an exercise if enough people come out to the event. I know at this point there's a soccer tournament going on at the same time as this one. So people had to choose to watch their kids play or to come to this, and I think the compulsion to watch your own children participate in an activity is probably more important. So we will we'll resume this conversation and this discussion. Hopefully this evening at the dinner, we're going to have a chance to hear Anessa make a small presentation and discussion. I think it'll be very important for us to hear what she has to say. We're looking forward to that. If you have comments or questions, please feel free to come and talk to us. Happy to talk to you about our experience and what it is that we're doing as individuals, as part of this Bosnian community. So thank you very much. We'll be back in a little bit of time. Thank you for attending. Assalamu alaikum.